We sent messengers as bringers of good tidings and warners, so that mankind will have no argument against Allah after the messengers. And ever is Allah exalted in might and wise.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the prophets that are well known amongst the people of Scripture. The Jews and Christians are very familiar with a lot of the prophets we've been discussing. But I thought today what we should do is talk about some of the prophets that they're not as familiar with. You see, at the time of Noah alayhi salam, the people had the great flood. You remember the story, and they had the big ship. Noah and some of his people got in it. They had all the animals. And then when the ship came down, those people were true believers in Allah, and they only worshipped Allah. But then Noah alayhi salam and his people had children. They had sons and daughters, and they had sons and daughters. And from them came some called Shem, Ham, Japheth, and these are mentioned in the old scriptures as well. I want to talk about, first of all, Shem, and then we'll talk about the people of Imran. But for sure, you can get an idea here about something, about language. Because in the Arabic language, the letter Sin, like this, and the letter Sheen, like that, are reversed in the Hebrew language. Because where we say sh, they say s. So when you hear Muslims say Salam Alaikum, you will find the Hebrew people saying Shalom Alaikum. Can you say Shalom Alaikum?
Shalom Alaikum.
Yes, so anybody who knows the Hebrew language, the Jewish language, they know you just said peace be unto you. And so now we'll say it in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Now you can understand what I just told you, why they say Sham and we say Sam. Because the people of Sam, they got in a big fight with the people of Ham. And this fight went on, and it was so bad, and so many people were, upset about this thing. So the people of Sham, they left. They all left. They went, and they went, and they went, along with the people of Imran, and they all migrated away from this area. Now, the area where they were was in Iraq, which was also called Babylon. And when they left, they continued to a place which used to be called Felix, Arabia. And Felix meant something really big. And Arabia, the peninsula there, which we know today, has Saudi Arabia, and it has Yemen is there, UAE is there, Qatar is there, Kuwait. All of these countries are there. But in those times, this was known as Yemen and Oman and like that. So they went there and they settled this area. Now these people, the people of Sam or Sham, they were big. They were very strong and huge people, powerful people. And they were proud of themselves. And they used to build big buildings and palaces and even big temples, and they worshipped Allah. Now this is what I want to make an emphasis on today, is about people who worship Allah, but they still make a big mistake. So pay attention to this story, what happened. Remember, these are descendants from the time of Noah alayhi salam. They remember about the flood, they know the story, and here they are now building these big temples. And they worshipped Allah, but they also worshipped other things with Allah. These people also looked to the stars, and they worshipped the stars, and they worshipped other things, like the moon, for instance. And all of these gods, and they had many, maybe 5, 6, I don't know how many, and they had different names for each one, and they used to do the same as the mistakes from the people before, which was what? You make the statues, you make the little images, and so on. And in today, modern archaeology, they've been able to trace back and find samples of these very things that Allah speaks about in the Quran, and we know for sure that they really did do these things. A big mistake. So, when people begin to do what's called false worship, they start doing other mistakes too. Because I want to show you about something, I want you to think about it. When a person says there's another God with Allah, this is a lie. It's a big lie. When a person lies, then all of the society starts to break down. Lying breaks down everything else. Because when a person lies, they start thinking wrong. For instance, when the people start seeing other people have something nice, and they said, I want that for me. That should be mine. Well, that's a lie. That's theirs, not yours, true? So then after people become, it's called hasid in the Arabic language, jealous, really jealous. I want that. How come you got that? I should have that. And they start doing what? They start to cheat to get what they want. And if that doesn't work, they'll do what? They'll steal to get what they want. So they lie, envy, cheat, steal, and then they do worse, really worse. They even kill. And these are the things that lead up to the breakdown in society. And all of this is oppression. All of this is in Arabic, it's called dhulam. Can you say dhulam?
Dhulam.
Dhulam is bad. A'udhu billah. I want to stay away from dhulam. And Allah tells us that He hates dhulam so much, and He forbids Himself to ever do dhulam. Allah never oppresses. Never, ever, ever does Allah oppress. And He hates it when we oppress ourselves or other people. Now what happened here, these people had gone so far away from the right way, even though they still said Allah sometimes and prayed to Allah sometimes, but they were praying to these other gods. So in all of the problems that were going on and all this oppression that was happening and all the meanness, all the evil, so Allah sent a prophet from them, their own people. His name was Hud. Can you say Hud?
Hud.
Yeah, that was his name, Hud. And he came to his people and he told them, listen, guys, you're doing the wrong thing. You're mixing your worship. You worship Allah alone. They said, what's wrong with worshiping these gods? We found our fathers worshiping these gods, so what's the big deal? Okay? Now we have Allah and we have these other gods. Hud was telling them, that doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. You have to worship Allah alone. They said, who are you? He said, I'm a messenger of Allah to you. They're going, oh yeah? You're just a common guy just like us. Okay? What do you want? He said, I don't want anything from you. Allah provides for me. I don't need anything. I'm not asking for any reward from you. I'm just telling you that you need to worship Allah alone. And that's it. Just worship Allah. And they're like, yeah, right. What do you want? And the more he talked to them, the more they got angry about it. And they were like, you know, what can we do to get rid of this guy? He's making us nuts. But some of the people listened to Hud and they realized that, you know what? This is what happened before. This is what happened to the people of Nuh alayhi salam. They were warned. They were warned clearly by Noah. He told them, guys, you're going to get destroyed. And we got a prophet right here saying the same thing. Eventually, that's what Hud told him. He said, you know what? If you don't do it, Allah is going to bring a punishment on you. And they're going, so? We don't believe you. The more we listen to you, the more we don't believe you. There's some lessons we get from this. It means that no matter how much you tell some people, they're not going to listen. But you still have to be persistent and tell the truth. Always tell the truth. How many gods are there? One. There's no gods. There's only Allah. Yeah? La ilaha
Illallah.
La ilaha
Illallah.
There is no God except Allah. So this is the message that Hud is bringing to these people. And they are rejecting it wholesale, across the board. We don't want it. Well, things got a bit tough around there. Now, these people became really evil, really oppressing. And he kept trying to warn them and warn them. And finally they're like this, oh yeah, why don't you just bring it on, okay? If there's any punishment coming, we don't see it, do it. And he was telling them, guys, you realize what you're asking for? Who cares? And then it came. It came in a horrible way. And when Allah sent the punishment on these people, they really suffered in the strangest way. How these kind of punishments come, Allah knows best. But some of these punishments can start, as we heard about the flood. The rain came, you know. But when these people saw the clouds coming, they got happy because they had had a drought. You remember this story? It was similar again, you know. No rain. Hey, rain's coming. Yay, guys. Hey, rain's coming. All right. And now we'll show this Hud guy what's really up because, you know, our plants will bloom again. We'll have everything we need. Don't worry about it. It's cool. But then it came. It was bad. It was really bad. It was so bad. But the only people saved were the people of Hud that followed him. And they took off, right? But when this came, they said that the wind from this thing was so horrible I can't even imagine. By the way, I saw a hurricane before. Several hurricanes. I've been in them. I was even once in one of the biggest tornadoes that ever came to Texas. A big tornado. It almost got me. It got my business, and it got my truck. Things like this. And it's amazing what that did. But nothing like what happened to these people of Hood. You know how bad it was? Yeah. They were in their tents. By the way, I told you they built buildings, right? Hood was telling them, why are you building these buildings, but you live in the tents? And they did. They lived in tents. And they were trying to hide in these tents. And here came the big wind, and it got them. So much so that it threw them up in the air, and when they came down, it bashed their heads off. And listen to this. The wind went right through them, where the hole is for the head, and just the wind went through and made them hollow like logs. This is what it says, and I read it, and that's what it said. It happened to these people. They were hollow like dead logs laying all over. Not a single person lived. Every one of them died because of this horrible thing that they were doing. It's not just that they were being bad to each other, which Allah hates that, but also they were being bad to Allah because they were worshiping something with Allah. Allah does not accept that you make partners with Him in worship. Let's go on and talk some more about what happened in the Arabian Peninsula, because there were others also. And one of them was called the tribe of Thamud. The tribe of Thamud, these people came after the people of Ad. And again, there were people amongst them who worshipped Allah, but there were people who worshipped other than Allah, and some they didn't worship anything at all. They just, I don't know what they believed. It was bad. And again, Allah sends a prophet to them. This prophet was named Saleh. Can you say Saleh?
Saleh.
Yes, Saleh was the prophet who came to the people of Thamud. And when he came to them, he was telling them the same message of every prophet. Worship Allah alone without any partners. Give up your false worship. Stop praying to these phony gods and give credit to Allah. Say thank you to Allah. Now, Allah had given them a lot of things too. They had a lot of stuff going for them. But then Allah began to test them. How? By taking things away. And at one point, see, water was real important. You know what happens in the desert when you don't have water, right? So water was important, and they had some wells where you crawl down in the well and get water. Now, have you ever seen a well? Well, a well in the desert is not like a well that we have here. A well we have here, you might have some bricks and then a rope and a bucket. It goes down and gets the water. But over there, it's not like that. This is what they had. They had these holes or fissures or cracks in the ground. And you had to climb down, get down in the well, and then scoop out the water. And it was dark down there, too. And by the way, it could be spiders. Could be snakes, could be scorpions. So it was dangerous, you know. But they had their wells there. And then one day, their prophet, which was Saleh, was talking with their leaders. And he was arguing with them in a good way, intellectually talking to them about, look, where does everything come from, you know? Allah gives us the sun, He gives us the moon, He gives us the stars, He gives us day, He gives us night. This is the kind of arguments that we've always used against disbelief, to show you that how could anything like this come by accident? It doesn't. It's only coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why don't you believe, and why don't you obey Allah? And obey your prophet means obey Allah, because every one of the prophets said, obey me, because I'm only telling you what Allah is telling me to tell you. Just do what I tell you, because Allah has told me what to tell you. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. You're just somebody from us, and who knows, maybe you're kind of cuckoo, you know? Maybe, you know, we don't know. And how come you're from us? Why aren't you an angel? This is another argument. We keep seeing it come up, don't we? They keep saying, how come you're just a normal person? But it's a normal person from the people that should speak their language and warn them, yeah. And that's what was happening. Well, the next thing that happens is that they really got into it with their prophet, Saleh, and they told him, look, you want to give us a miracle? We'll listen to you. But what we want you to do, you see those mountains over there? Why don't you make a camel come up out of those mountains? We want it to be a unique camel, like none other. In fact, we want it to be a big beautiful, valuable, unique camel, and we want it to be 10 months pregnant with a camel inside of it. So this would be a she-camel, which is pregnant. In fact, we want it to come out of that rock over there. What? Now look what Salih told them. He said, okay, check this out. If Allah makes that rock split open, and this big camel comes out of there, this unique camel, and it's 10 months pregnant, will you believe? They said, yeah, oh yeah, we'll believe then. Oh yeah. He said, now listen. And he made an agreement with him. He said, listen to me. If this happens, then you'll have no choice but to believe. And if you don't believe after that, you're going to be in deep, deep trouble. They said, yeah, okay. Do your thing. We'll see. And then Allah made the rock split. And what came out?
Camel.
Big camel. Unique camel. And it was 10 months pregnant. Exactly what they said. Is this possible by accident? No. Could some person make it up?
No.
Nope.
Only Allah.
No, only Allah. Exactly. Exactly. Only Allah could do this, and He did it. Did they believe? Some of them did. But most of them, they didn't. They didn't. How? And now for a while they were like, wow, that was pretty amazing. Were you that day? Yeah, I was there, you know. Did you see the rocks? Yeah, well, this is a big deal. But it went on. See, because there came a condition. Whenever Allah gives a miracle like this to the people, then He's going to make a condition after that, because after all, you've seen something amazing here. Now do something about it. Now here's what Allah wanted them to do. They could drink from the well of this camel. There's a special well for this camel. They could drink on one day, but the next day, she drinks. But check out what happened. When she would drink and fill up with it, she would have milk. So much milk that all the people could drink her milk. Hundreds of people with milk left over. She was amazing. But she sucked the well dry. Nothing left. But they could drink her milk. That's a good deal, huh? Yeah. It shouldn't be any problem, right? Then the next day you can have all the water you want. And this went on for a while. But what happened, the people who really didn't like the idea of this Salih telling them what to do, and they wanted to go back to worshiping their gods, they hated him. You know that? They hated him. They hated his message. So they began to put this hatred for him on this poor camel. They started hating the camel. And they were thinking, you know what? Let's get rid of this camel. Then one of the women amongst the tribe, she went to one of the men and said, hey, anything you want, just kill the camel. And another woman said, hey, I'll marry you if you'll kill the camel. So these two guys that had been promised this, they went around and tried to find other people. They got 7 more guys. 2 plus 7 is how much?
9.
So these 9 people, that's all, out of the whole entire tribe, they're the ones that brought down the big punishment. Now I want you to pay attention to this, because I learned something from one of my friends in UK about this subject. Only 9 people were doing this. But all the rest of the people didn't stop them. 9 people were going to do something which is called munkar. Have you heard of munkar? Munkar is evil, evil, evil. Maruf, this is good, 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 yeah? Have you heard about this? Allah tells us in the Quran, Kuntan khayran umatin ukhrijat linnasi ta'maruna bil maruf wa tanhana anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. And by the way, when somebody's reciting Quran, you shouldn't interrupt them. Did you know that? Yeah, okay. So this ayah in the Quran is telling us that you're the best of nations raised up because you call the people to al-maruf, which is very good. It's talking about all the things that Allah stands for, all the things that La ilaha illallah brings and what goes with it. But munkar, the opposite, is the opposite thing, meaning that all the things that Allah is forbidding you to do, all the things you should stay away from, those things are munkar. So these 9 people, anyway, decide they're going to kill this camel. Kill her. Why? They said, we want the water every day. Well, let the camel drink, because you can get you know, the milk if you need it. Come on, guys. Nope. So one of them, he went forward. He was really a bad guy. He went forward and shot an arrow into her leg. She tried to get away, but she couldn't because she had an arrow in her leg. It was hard to get away. Then the other one, he went up and chopped her other leg with a sword. Yes. And then another came forward and stabbed her, and she bled to death right there. This is what they did. They had been warned by Salih, leave her alone. She is the she-camel of Allah. Let her drink. They were warned. Read the Quran, that's what it says. But they did it anyway. And then Salih went to them and said, guys, you have done a horrible thing. And guess what? In 3 days, Allah's punishment is going to come on you. Now, here's something interesting. Why 3 days? Because they have time to say what? Astaghfirullah. They have time to repent to Allah. Allah's given them time in that 3 days. You could say, oh, I'm sorry, Allah. Please forgive us. We're sorry we killed your camel. But they didn't. Instead, they started making fun of Salih again, saying, oh, yeah? Why 3 days? What's the big deal? Why don't you just bring it now? I don't see anything. Hello? No problems here. So the first day went by. Second day went by. Third day went by. And they're like, see? We told you. And then a cloud came. But they weren't afraid. Why? They said, rain at last. Yay, we're going to get rain. In the desert, you get happy when you see rain. And they were in these places. Hadramaut is one of the places where they are in this area. If you know where's Hadramaut and Yemen and all that, this is where they were. And if you go there today, you can see some of these ruins from these people even now. But anyway, now here's what happens next. Here it comes the storm. And it comes. And like rain and like, lightning. Huge thunderbolts. Unbelievable. You know the kind of thunderbolts that are so bright, it lights up the whole sky and then it becomes black afterwards? And then it lights up again, you know? And it makes such crashing and you be holding your ears like, oh. And this is the condition they were in. Then Allah sent earthquakes. Zalzala. And now the earth is like this and cracking and opening and people, you know, going crazy. And they don't know which way to run. Where are you going to run in an earthquake? Over there? Maybe the ground's going to open over there. Maybe it's going to open over here. You're like, okay, This is the condition they were in. That's not where it stopped. It got worse than that. Now the rain, now the lightning, now the thunder, now the earthquakes. And then the shout. And there's no way to describe it in English language. And I'm not even sure I understand it in Arabic. All I know is when it comes, everything dies. And that's what happened to them. The good news, the people of Salih that did believe, they got to leave. Allah let them escape away from this problem. And that's good. They escaped it. And they continued to worship Allah alone without any partners. Assalamu alaikum.